50 years ago, we could fly from New York to London in under 3 hours. Today, that same trip takes over 7 hours. We went from crossing the Atlantic at twice the speed of sound to being crammed in a flying bus that's slower than a fighter jet from the 1950s. This isn't a case of lost technology. We didn't forget how to do it. So what happened? Why, in a world where our phones and computers get exponentially faster every year, did air travel get exponentially slower? The answer isn't just about one plane. It's a story about a beautiful, impossible dream that was killed by two things almost no one saw coming: a deafening noise and simple math. This is the story of the Concorde, the supersonic passenger jet that promised to shrink the world, and how its spectacular failure created the exact system of air travel we are all stuck with today. And by the end of this video, you will understand the single, brutal economic reason why you will probably never fly faster than the speed of sound, at least not in the way you think. To understand what we lost, we have to go back to the 1960s. The world was obsessed with speed. We just put a man in space. The future felt limitless, and the next great frontier was commercial air travel. At the time, flying across the ocean was still a huge 10-hour ordeal. So a question began to bubble up in the halls of engineering. What if we could fly faster than sound? Not just for military pilots, but for regular people, businessmen, celebrities, maybe even you and me. The idea was to build a plane that flew so high and so fast, it would literally outrun the sun. You could leave London after breakfast and land in New York before breakfast. This wasn't just a fantasy. Two countries, Britain and France, poured billions of dollars into making it a reality. And the result was the Concorde. It was a masterpiece, a work of art. It flew at 60,000 feet, so high you could see the curvature of the Earth. It traveled at Mach 2, over 1,300 miles per hour. It was the peak of human engineering, the absolute symbol of a glorious, high-tech future. Airlines from all over the world placed over 100 orders. The supersonic age was about to begin. But then, people actually heard it. The first huge problem wasn't financial, it was noise, specifically something called the sonic boom. So what exactly is a sonic boom? Imagine a boat moving through water. It creates a wake behind it. A plane moving faster than the speed of sound does the exact same thing, but with air. It creates a continuous, massive shock wave of compressed air that travels with it. On the ground, this wasn't just a boom, it was a physical force. It felt like a nearby explosion, shattering windows and rattling houses. It was a constant, rolling thunder that followed the plane across the entire country. People hated it. It terrified pets. It woke up babies. It made daily life unbearable anywhere under the flight path. The public outcry was massive. People protested. They wrote to their politicians. They did not want this thing flying over their homes. And it worked. One by one, countries all over the world, including the United States, banned supersonic flight over their land. This was a devastating blow. Suddenly, the Concorde's biggest advantage, its speed, was illegal for most of the journey. It could go full throttle over the ocean. Think about it. A plane designed to connect every major city in the world was now basically just a very, very fast shuttle between Paris, London, and New York. At the same time, another problem was emerging. The environmental movement was gaining steam. Scientists raised concerns that flying a whole fleet of these planes so high up could damage the ozone layer. Combined with the noise complaints, the Concorde started to look less like a symbol of the future and more like a loud, polluting, planet-wrecking machine. The dream was starting to crack. The airline companies got nervous. One by one, they canceled their orders. All of them, except for two, the state-owned airlines of the countries that built it, British Airways and Air France. The Concorde would fly, But now it had to do something even harder than breaking the sound barrier. It had to make money. And this is where the beautiful dream met the cold, hard reality of a calculator. The Concorde was, and this is an understatement, absurdly expensive. The research and development alone cost over $2 billion in the 1970s. That's like $20 billion today. But the real problem wasn't the price to build it, it was the price to fly it. Think of the Concorde like a high-performance sports car. It's amazing, but it gets terrible gas mileage. To achieve Mach 2, the Concorde's 4 massive engines burned a staggering amount of fuel. On a single trip across the Atlantic, it burned over 26,000 gallons. That's over 100 tons of fuel to carry just 100 people.
Now compare that to a brand new plane that was just coming out, the Boeing 747. The 747 was the exact opposite of the Concorde. It was big, slow, and focused on one thing: efficiency. It could carry 4 times the number of passengers, using roughly the same amount of fuel for the same trip. So here's the simple math. If you're an airline, you have 2 choices. You can fly 1 Concorde trip and sell 100 tickets, or you can fly 1 747 trip and sell 400 tickets for the same fuel cost. Which one makes you more money? This economic reality forced the airlines to do the only thing they could. They made Concorde tickets ridiculously expensive. A round trip from London to New York would cost you about $10,000 in today's money. This turned the Concorde from the future of travel for everyone into a private jet for the super rich and famous. The passenger list was all celebrities, CEOs, and rock stars. Regular people like you and me, we were flying on the 747. For nearly 30 years, this weird, unbalanced system worked. The Concorde became a symbol of luxury, flying half empty, but making just enough money on the outrageously expensive tickets to justify its existence. But it was flying on a knife's edge. One tiny push would send the whole thing tumbling down. That push came on July 25, 2000. Air France Flight 4590 was taking off from Paris. During takeoff, it ran over a small metal strip on the runway that had fallen off another plane. A tire exploded. A piece of that tire flew up and hit the wing, rupturing a fuel tank. The leaking fuel ignited, and the plane, the safest plane ever built with a perfect passenger safety record, was on fire before it even left the ground. The pilots fought to control it, but it was impossible. It crashed just a few minutes later. Everyone on board and 4 people on the ground were killed. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The entire Concorde fleet was grounded. The world was shocked. The invincible symbol of speed and luxury was suddenly seen as dangerous. Then, just over a year later, the world changed forever. The September 11th attacks happened, and the entire airline industry went into a nosedive. People were afraid to fly. The Concorde returned to service, but it was too late. The combination of a tarnished safety image and a global travel slump was the final nail in the coffin. No one wanted to pay $10,000 for a ticket on a plane they were no longer sure was safe. The economics, which were already razor-thin, completely collapsed. In 2003, the last Concorde flight landed, and the dream of supersonic passenger travel was officially over. So what did we learn from all this? The Concorde's failure taught the airline industry a lesson that defines the way we fly today. First, they stopped chasing speed. The Concorde proved that for commercial travel, being incredibly fast was a terrible business model. The fuel costs were too high, the tickets were too expensive, and the market was too small. Instead, they started a new race, the race for efficiency. Every single innovation in air travel for the past 40 years has been about this: making planes lighter, building engines that are quieter and use less fuel, and, as we all know, figuring out how to fit as many seats as physically possible onto a plane to get the cost per passenger down. This is why your flight to London is 7 hours long and you feel like a sardine. Because the airline industry chose the 747 model over the Concorde model. They chose volume over speed. It's less glamorous, but it's a business that actually works. It allows millions of us to afford to fly, even if it's not always comfortable. But is the dream truly dead? Not quite. A new generation of companies are trying to bring supersonic travel back, but they're doing it with the hard lessons of the Concorde in mind. They're building smaller planes, designed for maybe 50 to 80 people, not 100. They're using new technology to try and muffle the sonic boom into a much quieter sonic thump, hoping that regulators might one day allow them to fly over land. And most importantly, they are building them with lightweight materials and far more efficient engines. Their goal is to create a plane that can deliver supersonic speed at a ticket price that's more like a modern business class seat, not a celebrity's private jet. It's a huge challenge, but if they can solve the two problems that killed the Concorde, the noise and the terrible economics, we might just see the return of supersonic travel in our lifetime. In the end, the story of the Concorde is a powerful reminder. Technology alone is not enough. A brilliant idea, a masterpiece of engineering, can still fail if the economics don't work. We can't fly faster than sound anymore because we lost the knowledge, but because we, as a society, collectively and unconsciously made a choice. We chose affordability over speed. The world of business and technology is full of stories like this, where the best idea doesn't always win. So if you want to understand the hidden economics behind the world we live in, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. We post new animated documentaries every week. And I'm curious, if a supersonic flight cost the same as a business class ticket today, would you take it? Let me know your answer in the comments below. Thanks for watching. And next, check out our video on the private company that secretly controls almost everything you buy and how they use these massive ships to do it. You won't want to miss it.